Indonesia is home to more than 17,000 islands, hundreds of ethnic groups, and countless untold stories. Yet hidden deep within the emerald mountains of West Sulawesi lies a land that even many Indonesians have never truly discovered. A place where clouds drift through ancient valleys, traditions have endured for centuries, and history has tested the resilience of its people. This is Mamasa Regency, a breathtaking highland where every mountain, every village, and every generation carries a story worth remembering. Nestled in the heart of West Sulawesi province, Mamasa Regency is far more than a point on the map. Established in 2002 after separating from the former Polewali Mamasa Regency, which later became Polewali Mandar, Mamasa represents a new chapter of identity, self-determination, and hope for its people. While still one of Indonesia's younger regencies, its cultural roots stretch back hundreds of years, preserving traditions that continue to shape everyday life. By the middle of 2024, Mamasa was home to approximately 167,066 residents spread across an expansive mountainous landscape. Despite covering thousands of square kilometers, the population density remains remarkably low, at only around 56 people per square kilometer. This creates an atmosphere unlike Indonesia's crowded urban centers. Here, vast forests, rolling hills, and peaceful valleys dominate the landscape, allowing nature to remain the true ruler of the region. What makes Mamasa truly extraordinary is its geography. Rising between 600 and 2,000 meters above sea level, the Regency enjoys a cool mountain climate throughout much of the year. Morning mist blankets traditional villages, while fresh mountain air flows through fertile valleys. Unlike every other Regency in West Sulawesi, Mamasa has no coastline. Instead of beaches and oceans, its identity is defined by towering peaks, winding rivers, fertile highlands, and spectacular mountain scenery that rivals some of Southeast Asia's most beautiful landscapes. These mountains have not only shaped the environment, but also the people who call Mamasa home. The majority of the population belongs to the Mamasa Toraja ethnic group, whose cultural heritage is closely connected to the famous Toraja communities of neighboring South Sulawesi. Their traditions, architecture, ceremonies, music, and ancestral customs remain deeply respected. Many visitors immediately notice the striking traditional houses, unique cultural expressions, and strong sense of family that continue to define life across the highlands. Religion also forms an important part of Mamasa's identity. Most members of the Mamasa Toraja community practice Protestant Christianity, reflecting the historical influence of Christian missionary work throughout the region. Churches stand proudly across villages, becoming not only places of worship, but also centers of community life, education, and social unity. Yet Mamasa's story is richer than a single culture or religion. Within its mountains survives one of Indonesia's remarkable indigenous belief systems known as Maporondo. Followers of this traditional spiritual faith continue to preserve ancestral rituals, cultural ceremonies, and philosophical values that have been passed down through generations. Their existence reminds the world that Indonesia's cultural diversity extends far beyond officially recognized religions. Maporondo represents an extraordinary example of how ancient wisdom can survive alongside modern society. Mamasa is also home to Mandar communities, particularly within the districts of Mambi, Arale, and surrounding areas historically known as Pitu Uluna Salu, meaning the seven kingdoms of the river headwaters. These communities are predominantly Muslim and possess their own proud traditions, history, and identity. Together, the Mamasa Toraja and Mandar peoples contribute to the remarkable cultural mosaic that makes this regency unlike anywhere else in Indonesia. However, history has not always been peaceful. Shortly after Mamasa became an independent regency, tensions emerged between different community groups during the years between 2003 and 2005. The disagreements centered on differing political aspirations surrounding the creation of the new regency. While many residents of Mamasa supported the separation, some Mandar communities preferred remaining part of Polewali. Sadly, these differences escalated into conflict, leading to the loss of lives and forcing many families to leave their homes. It remains one of the most painful chapters in Mamasa's modern history. But perhaps the greatest lesson Mamasa offers is not found in conflict. It is found in resilience. Communities rebuilt their lives, families returned. Trust slowly grew once again. Today, people from different backgrounds continue working together to build a more peaceful future. Their journey demonstrates that even after division, reconciliation remains possible through patience, dialogue, and shared hope. Geographically, Mamasa occupies a strategic position, surrounded by some of Sulawesi's most fascinating regions. To the north lies Mamuju Regency. To the east stand Tanah Toraja and Pinrang Regency of South Sulawesi. To the south borders Polewali Mandar, while to the west, Mamasa meets Mamuju, Majene, and Polewali Mandar. These neighboring regions have influenced trade, migration, language, and culture for generations, making Mamasa an important bridge between the highlands of South Sulawesi and the western coast of the island. Nature itself seems determined to protect this remarkable place. Towering mountains surround fertile valleys, crystal-clear rivers carve through forests, rolling hills stretch toward distant horizons. Morning fog creates landscapes that resemble paintings more than reality. For travelers seeking authenticity instead of crowds, Mamasa offers something increasingly rare in today's world, a destination where tradition remains alive, communities still value ancestral wisdom, and nature continues to shape everyday life. Mamasa is not merely a regency, it is a living museum of culture. It is a sanctuary of biodiversity. It is a symbol of endurance. It is proof that identity can survive modernization without losing its soul. Every village tells a story. Every mountain guards a memory. Every generation carries traditions that refuse to disappear. Perhaps that is why Mamasa deserves far greater recognition, not only within Indonesia, but across the world. Because the true greatness of a nation is never measured only by its largest cities, tallest skyscrapers, or strongest economy. It is measured by the extraordinary places that quietly preserve its history, protect its diversity, and inspire future generations. Mamasa is one of those places, a land above the clouds, a homeland shaped by resilience, a culture preserved through centuries, a future built upon reconciliation. And once you discover Mamasa, you will realize that some of Indonesia's greatest treasures have never been hidden. They have simply been waiting for the world to finally look up toward the mountains. The story of Mamasa becomes even more remarkable when you look beyond the statistics and into the rhythm of everyday life. Imagine waking before sunrise. A cool mountain breeze flows through the valleys. The first rays of light slowly illuminate layers of green hills that seem to stretch forever. Birdsong echoes across forests, untouched by mass tourism. Farmers begin their journey into fertile fields, while morning mist gently wraps around traditional villages perched high above the valleys. This is not a scene created for a movie. This is everyday life in Mamasa. The Regency's elevation, ranging from 600 to 2,000 meters above sea level, creates one of the most comfortable climates in West Sulawesi. Temperatures are significantly cooler than the tropical lowlands, allowing agriculture to flourish across the mountain slopes. For generations, these fertile highlands have sustained local communities through farming and livestock. Coffee grows exceptionally well in the cool mountain air. Vegetables thrive on terraced hillsides. Rice fields stretch across valleys shaped by centuries of careful cultivation. Fruit trees flourish under conditions that few other regions in West Sulawesi can offer. Nature has blessed Mamasa with an environment capable of supporting both biodiversity and sustainable agriculture. But Mamasa's greatest wealth has never been measured by crops alone. Its greatest treasure is its culture. Across the highlands, traditions continue to survive because they are lived rather than merely remembered. Children grow up learning the stories of their ancestors. Families gather for ceremonies that strengthen bonds between generations. Traditional music continues to accompany celebrations. Ancient customs remain part of everyday identity rather than becoming museum displays. In many parts of the world, modernization has erased centuries of local heritage. In Mamasa, heritage still breathes. The influence of Toraja culture is unmistakable. The architecture reflects generations of craftsmanship. Ceremonies celebrate both life and remembrance. Community values emphasize mutual cooperation, respect for elders, and strong family relationships. These traditions have endured despite dramatic social and political changes throughout Indonesian history. Yet Mamasa has never been isolated from the outside world. Trade routes connecting the western coast of Sulawesi with the highlands have existed for generations. Communities exchanged agricultural products, ideas, languages, and cultural traditions. This interaction helped shape Mamasa into a meeting point of different civilizations while allowing each community to preserve its own identity. This balance between openness and preservation is increasingly rare. It is one of Mamasa's greatest strengths. Visitors often discover something unexpected. Life here moves differently. There is less noise, less congestion, less urgency. People take time to greet one another. Families spend evenings together. Communities still value conversations over constant distractions. In an age where speed often defines success, Mamasa reminds us that there is also strength in slowing down. The mountains teach patience, the rivers teach persistence, the forests teach balance, and the people teach resilience. Perhaps nowhere is this resilience more visible than in the region's recovery after the difficult years of conflict. Communities that once experienced division gradually rebuilt relationships through cooperation, education, and shared aspirations. Schools reopened, markets became active again, families rebuilt homes, children returned to classrooms carrying dreams larger than the hardships their parents had endured. Healing did not happen overnight. It required courage. It required forgiveness. It required generations willing to believe that tomorrow could become better than yesterday. That may be Mamasa's most inspiring lesson. Peace is not simply the absence of conflict. Peace is the determination to keep building despite painful memories. Peace is choosing hope when history offers every reason to surrender. Across Indonesia, Mamasa may not receive the same attention as Bali, Yogyakarta, or Jakarta. International headlines rarely mention its name. Tourist brochures often overlook its extraordinary beauty. But sometimes the places that receive the least attention have the greatest stories to tell. Because fame does not determine significance. Character does, resilience does, heritage does, humanity does. Mamasa stands as a reminder that Indonesia's true identity cannot be understood by visiting only its famous destinations. To understand Indonesia, you must also explore its mountains, its remote villages, its indigenous cultures, its forgotten histories, its resilient communities. Only then can you truly appreciate the incredible diversity that makes this nation unlike any other on earth. Mamasa is more than a destination. It is a lesson that culture can survive, that diversity can become strength, that communities can recover from tragedy, that nature and humanity can still exist in harmony. Every sunrise over its mountains tells a new beginning. Every valley preserves centuries of memory. Every generation carries the responsibility of protecting a heritage that cannot be replaced. And perhaps one day, when more people discover this extraordinary highland hidden in the heart of West Sulawesi, the world will finally understand that Mamasa has never needed to become something else in order to be extraordinary. It has always been extraordinary. It simply remained one of Indonesia's best-kept secrets. Yet Mamasa's future is not defined only by its past. It is being written every single day. A new generation is growing up among these mountains with opportunities their grandparents could scarcely imagine. Children who once had limited access to education now dream of becoming teachers, doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, scientists, artists, and community leaders. Young people carry smartphones while still honoring ancestral traditions. They study modern technology without forgetting the wisdom of their elders. They speak to the world while remaining deeply connected to the villages that raised them. This balance between tradition and progress may become Mamasa's greatest advantage in the decades ahead. Infrastructure continues to improve. Roads gradually connect remote communities. Educational opportunities continue expanding. Healthcare services become increasingly accessible. Digital communication allows local businesses to reach customers far beyond the mountains of West Sulawesi. Step by step, Mamasa is becoming more connected while striving to preserve the identity that makes it unique. Tourism also presents enormous potential. Not the kind of tourism that overwhelms local communities, not the kind that sacrifices nature for short-term profits, but sustainable tourism, responsible tourism, tourism that respects culture instead of replacing it. Imagine travelers hiking through breathtaking mountain landscapes while learning directly from local guides. Imagine visitors staying in traditional villages where every meal tells the story of local agriculture. Imagine photographers capturing endless seas of clouds rising above emerald valleys. Imagine cultural festivals where ancient music, dance, and ceremonies inspire audiences from around the world. Mamasa possesses everything needed to become one of Indonesia's most unforgettable highland destinations. Spectacular scenery, living traditions, warm hospitality, rich history, remarkable cultural diversity, and most importantly, authenticity. In an era where many destinations have become commercialized beyond recognition, authenticity has become one of the world's most valuable treasures. Mamasa still has it. That authenticity cannot be manufactured, it cannot be copied, it can only be protected. Environmental conservation will therefore play a crucial role in the Mamasa's future. The forests surrounding these mountains are not merely beautiful landscapes. They regulate water supplies. They protect biodiversity. They reduce the risk of erosion and landslides. They provide livelihoods for surrounding communities. They help regulate the climate for future generations. Protecting these forests means protecting the future itself. Likewise, preserving traditional knowledge is equally important. For centuries, Indigenous communities have understood how to live in harmony with nature. They learned when to cultivate the land. They understood how to manage forests responsibly. They respected the balance between human needs and environmental sustainability. Modern science increasingly recognizes that many traditional ecological practices contain valuable knowledge developed through generations of careful observation. Mamasa reminds us that progress does not require abandoning the past. Sometimes the past holds the very wisdom needed for the future. This is why cultural preservation is not simply about protecting old traditions. It is about protecting identity. Without identity, development loses its soul. Without culture, prosperity becomes empty. Without memory, progress loses its direction. Mamasa demonstrates that a community can embrace education, innovation, and economic growth while remaining proud of its heritage. That lesson extends far beyond West Sulawesi. It speaks to the entire world. Across the globe, countless indigenous cultures face enormous challenges. Languages disappear, traditional knowledge fades, historic customs are forgotten, entire ways of life vanish within a single generation. Every culture that disappears represents an irreplaceable chapter of human civilization. Mamasa stands among those communities fighting to ensure that their story will continue, not through museums alone, not through history books alone, but through everyday life, through families, through ceremonies, through language, through faith, through education, through unity. Perhaps that is why this highland regency deserves far greater appreciation, because Mamasa reminds us that the strongest societies are not those that erase their differences, they are those that learn to protect them. Its mountains remind us to remain humble. Its valleys remind us to remain grateful. Its history reminds us that peace should never be taken for granted. Its people remind us that resilience is built one generation at a time. Long after visitors leave these breathtaking landscapes, one memory often remains. Not only the mountains, not only the cool air, not only the stunning scenery, but the people. People whose warmth reflects generations of resilience. People who understand hardship without allowing hardship to define them. People who continue building a better tomorrow while honouring yesterday. And perhaps that is the true meaning of Mamasa, not simply a regency in West Sulawesi, not merely a destination hidden among the mountains, but a powerful reminder that the greatest strength of any nation is found in ordinary people who refuse to let history, hardship, or geography determine the limits of their future. As the sun sets behind the towering highlands and golden light washes across ancient valleys, Mamasa quietly whispers a timeless message to anyone willing to listen. Protect your heritage, honour your diversity, learn from your history, care for your land, build peace with courage, and never forget where you came from. Because a community that remembers its roots will always find the strength to reach even greater heights. This is Mamasa, a land shaped by mountains, a people strengthened by history, a culture preserved with pride, a future filled with promise, and one of Indonesia's most extraordinary hidden treasures, waiting for the world to finally discover its remarkable story. But the story of Mamasa does not end here, because every remarkable place leaves behind a question. What kind of future will the next generation choose? Will they protect the forests that have sheltered their ancestors for centuries? Will they preserve the traditions that shaped their identity? Will they continue proving that diversity is not a weakness, but one of humanity's greatest strengths? The answer lies in the hands of today's young generation. Every child who learns the language of their grandparents, every student who studies history with pride, every farmer who protects the mountains instead of exploiting them, every teacher who inspires hope, every community leader who chooses dialogue over division. These are the people quietly shaping the next chapter of Mamasa. Their work may never appear on international headlines, it may never trend across social media, yet history has always been built by ordinary people making extraordinary choices. That is exactly what is happening here. Mamasa's strategic location also gives it significant potential for the future. Situated between West Sulawesi and South Sulawesi, the Regency serves as a natural gateway connecting coastal communities with the mountainous interior. For generations, these routes have carried agricultural products, cultural exchanges, and economic opportunities. As transportation continues improving, Mamasa could become an increasingly important center for sustainable agriculture, ecotourism, and cultural tourism. Imagine roads that make remote villages easier to reach while preserving the surrounding forests. Imagine local coffee gaining international recognition because of its unique highland character. Imagine small businesses using digital technology to introduce handmade crafts and traditional products to customers across the globe. Imagine young entrepreneurs building successful businesses without ever needing to abandon their hometown. This is not an impossible dream. It is a realistic opportunity if development continues responsibly. Economic growth should never come at the expense of cultural identity. Modernization should never erase the wisdom accumulated over centuries. The challenge for Mamasa, like many regions around the world, is finding harmony between progress and preservation. Fortunately, the people of Mamasa already understand something that many modern societies are only beginning to rediscover. A healthy society is not built solely on economic success. It is also built on strong families, mutual respect, community cooperation, environmental responsibility, cultural pride. These values cannot be measured by financial statistics, yet they determine the true strength of any civilization. The world often celebrates places because they are wealthy, because they are famous, because they are technologically advanced. But perhaps we should also celebrate places because they teach wisdom, because they preserve humanity, because they remind us of what truly matters. Mamasa is one of those places. Its mountains remind us that greatness is often quiet. Its forests remind us that patience creates resilience. Its history reminds us that peace requires continuous effort. Its people remind us that identity is worth protecting. Every nation possesses places that represent its soul. For Indonesia, Mamasa is undoubtedly one of them. Not because it has the tallest buildings, not because it has the largest population, not because it dominates international headlines, but because it represents something increasingly rare: authenticity, resilience, harmony, hope. As Indonesia continues moving toward the future, places like Mamasa become more important than ever. They preserve the nation's cultural memory. They protect priceless traditions. They safeguard extraordinary biodiversity. They remind every Indonesian that national strength comes from unity across differences. Indonesia's motto, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, meaning unity in diversity, is not merely a national slogan. In Mamasa, it becomes a living reality. Different communities, different beliefs, different histories, different traditions, one shared future. That is a lesson with global relevance. Around the world, societies continue searching for ways to balance diversity with unity. Mamasa demonstrates that this journey is not always easy. History has shown moments of pain, moments of misunderstanding, moments of conflict. Yet history has also shown reconciliation, healing, cooperation, and renewed hope. That may be the most inspiring message of all. The strongest communities are not those that never face hardship. They are those that refuse to let hardship become their final chapter. Mamasa chose to move forward, not by forgetting the past, but by learning from it. Not by abandoning tradition, but by carrying it into the future. Not by rejecting change, but by guiding change with wisdom. So when you hear the name Mamasa, do not think only of another regency on the map of Indonesia. Think of mist-covered mountains rising into the morning sky. Think of generations protecting traditions older than modern nations. Think of resilient communities rebuilding after adversity. Think of children dreaming beneath the same mountains their ancestors once climbed. Think of a place where nature, history, faith, and culture continue to shape everyday life. Because hidden among the highlands of West Sulawesi stands a destination that deserves far more than admiration. It deserves understanding. It deserves respect. It deserves preservation. And above all, it deserves to be remembered. Mamasa is more than a destination. It is more than a history lesson. It is more than breathtaking scenery. It is living proof that the true wealth of a nation is not found beneath the ground, it is found within its people, within their courage, within their traditions, within their resilience, within their unwavering determination to protect what makes them unique. Long after the journey ends, long after the mountains disappear beyond the horizon, one truth remains. The greatest places on earth are not always the loudest. Sometimes they are the quiet highlands where history still breathes, culture still flourishes, and hope continues to rise with every new sunrise. This is Mamasa, the hidden crown of West Sulawesi, a timeless land of mountains, a guardian of heritage, a symbol of resilience, and one of Indonesia's most extraordinary stories, still waiting to inspire the world.